So there's a reason why I skipped relationship number 3 and relationship number 6. And that is because they are the same person. I'm not going to lie, this is probably going to be one of the more tougher videos I've made. Relationship number 5 was a really good, meaningful relationship. It was very healthy until it wasn't, for reasons kind of unknown. This individual I can only describe as what she was to me is what crack is to a homeless person. And what I mean by that is she made me feel very good. She made me feel very valued. She made me feel very loved. But from what I'm being told is we were very toxic, much like heroin actually is. And it pains me because relationship number 5, I wanted Angel ever since middle school. I wanted her in high school. I finally got her when I was in Oklahoma, and for some odd reason, even now looking back, I valued relationship number 3 and 6 oddly more. But we will start with where it all began, is tech school, San Angelo, Goodfellow, Texas. I remember the first time seeing her. I was going to church and she walked in, super tall, probably one of the tallest women I've ever seen. Jet black hair and very beautiful. And it didn't take long for us to find out that we both liked the same music and we both spoke German. Now, this happened, let's just say first impressions were really good. And this is when I was dating relationship number 2. But I honestly went into her relationship number 3 like a friendship. And I did give her my number, but she never texted me for up until, sometime in August, early August I want to say, right when relationship number 2 was ending. And stumbling upon her was kind of an accident, because I would only see her at church, we would only talk at church, and I got a new roommate, and he, for some odd reason, I want to do laundry at the Intel building. Okay, well, I ran into her there. Hey, I tried texting you. Oh, what was the phone number? One of the digits was wrong. So we fixed it. And it did not take long to start getting texts from her. It would be early in the morning on a weekend. I want to sleep in. I'm tired. I've been doing firefighting all week long. And I'll get a text at like 6, 7, 8 in the morning. Hey, are you up? Hey, let's go to the DFAC and get some breakfast. Oh. Okay. Wow, someone actually wants to spend time with me. That's interesting. Being very bold about it. But I guess the difference between relationship number 2 and relationship number 3 is there seemed like it was more of an option. Like you don't have to do this, but I would like to spend time with you. I'd like to have breakfast with you. I'd like to hang out with you. Whereas relationship number 2 is you will dress nice, you will have dinner with me, and it seemed a little bit more forceful. So, what I liked about her was she wanted to spend time with me. I didn't feel pressured. And she was super adventurous. By this point, we were both in phase 2. We could go off base. And it was, I want to go check out some of the restaurants in town. I want to go check out some of the parks. I want to go check out the train museum. And even though it was very much what she wanted to do, Um, I didn't know much about San Angelo. I didn't know what was in San Angelo. And I was just basically along for the ride. And I really appreciated it that I was invited along for the ride. And it was just the two of us. She had friends, but she just wanted to spend time with me, which made me feel super valued. We did go check out a bunch of awesome. San Angelo's got a lot of crazy, great restaurants. I highly recommend it. The train museum, and all these parks, and being around her, she had to be one of the most positive people I've ever been around. Just super happy, very mature. She was 25, I was 20. Her name was Christy. Her fake name is Christy. And she was active, she worked out, come to find out, she speaks 4 different languages, not just German, but not just English, so, English, German, and then, if you even want to count English, but then also Spanish and French. Bachelor's degree in physics, which I was like, God damn, that's really impressive. I felt like I was around royalty. I felt like I was around an adult. I felt like I was around a very positive person. But I felt like I was around a mature person. I would say the difference between Angel and Christy is both made me happy, both made me feel valued, but one was by far more mature than the other. I would say Christy made me strive to want to be a better person, but Angel made me feel comfortable being around her. I felt comfortable being around Christy, but I feel like I also had to mind my T's and cross my T's and dot my I's a little bit more often. Try not to curse as much. Try to be a little bit more, positive. Talk about all the good things that you're doing. Angel, I could talk to her about, here's all the crappy stuff, but I could feel a little bit more open with you, kind of ordeal. But I dated Christy before I dated Angel. Obviously relationship number 3 before relationship number 5, obviously. But first impressions were very strong, and even during Fire Academy, she wanted, hey, let's hang out, let's have lunch together. After Academy, she would help me actually study sometimes. She didn't know what she was talking about because it's Fire Academy, but she would help. We would talk about our faith. We would talk about our goals. We were both interested in marriage. The only difference is I wanted it sooner than later, and she wanted it later than sooner. And I think that was something that eventually turned her off, was I might have come on a little bit too strong, which, I'll be honest, I was scared. I've already been through 2 breakups at this point, and I was getting ready to leave for Oklahoma, and on top of that, she got orders to Germany. And I was like, I've been to Germany a few times. I speak the language. You speak the language. Why not? Why not? I eventually got to Oklahoma. I did technically need a car, and I went out by myself and bought my own car at a 14.6 or 7% interest rate. First time car buyer. And half the reason was I want to get around town without relying on people. And obviously, drive to work. But the other half of it was I wanted to drive down and see her. Now, luckily, I was only stationed 4 hours up the road. I would drive the 4 hours. I would say every other weekend I would drive down to see her. And before I left, we did actually become a couple. And every other weekend, I would drive down, and she would always pay for the hotel, which, again, made me feel valued. There's teamwork. I'm driving down to see you, but you're the one paying for the hotel. We would try to do 50-50 on meals. And just being around her was just very magical. And again, I just felt like I was surrounded by greatness. And we'd still go to church, we'd pray. I don't think I prayed as much with anyone as I did with her. But as the months went on, she seemed a little bit more and more distant. And what really sucked is I came to see her for Christmas of 2017 in Florida. I got my ass chewed by leadership when they found out about this. The senior NCOs of the fire department approved me for leave. And they said, "Oh, by all means, man, it's your first year in the military. We don't want you to, be here for Christmas. We want you to ease in." The senior NCOs at Altus at the time were good. It was the NCOs that were toxic, which I think I've talked a little bit about in my Who Am I video. And when they found out, I got my ass lit up. So not only did I take a kind of a mental hit going to Florida, but she left me 2 days later. And literally the song of Last Christmas, I Gave You My Heart, and the very next day you gave it away. Well, that kind of related, and it really sucked. On top of that, she knew that I didn't want to be in Oklahoma. She knew that I didn't want to be a firefighter. She knew I didn't have any friends. And there was a little bit of, I'm going to save my own skin and basically leave you to drown. And it really sucked because at the same time, I thought things were good. And I was never told that we were failing, what I was doing wrong. I never got that feedback. So when she did leave me, it was very, wow, this is coming as a surprise. I thought we were doing great. I didn't understand. I would stop hearing from her about a month later. She actually did come to Altus to see me. She actually left San Angelo to drive up and see me. But it seemed, I guess looking back on it, seemed odd why she would do that, considering that we did not have a good breakup. Like, it was there was a lot of yelling, and she still came up to see me. She got to see my fire department. She thought what I was doing was cool. The area, I don't think she was that impressed with the area. Altus is a very small town. It's very dry. And she was only there for one day. And then we still continued to talk, but there was still just kind of the whole, what the hell. For tech school, she was top of her class. And like I said in previous videos, a lot of the women I've dated are very smart, top of their class, and even though all these women, I'm not on talking relationships with them anymore, I'm not on talking terms with them anymore, I still, every time I think about how smart they are, it still brings a smile to my face. So I didn't hear from her for 3 years, and here's where things get a little weird. Relationship number 5, Angel. She breaks up with me. We're done. I kid you not. It was an act of God. An hour later, I get a message from Christy on Facebook basically saying, "Hey, I hope you're doing well." And I did, "Hey, yeah, I just got back from a deployment and I literally just went through a breakup. It sucks." And she's like, "Okay, well, I'm here now." And with everything going on, I just wanted to be friends with her. And she made it clear, "I don't want to get back with you." Okay, fine, whatever. And she adds me as a friend on Facebook 2 days later, and it was just, and this is all her, and it's just kind of like, okay, I'm starting to feel valued again. Obviously, I'm still a little bit in grief with the recent breakup, but this is some interesting development going on. And as time went on, we would talk on and off, and there eventually reached a point, hey, I'd like to see you. And I'm like, well, you're all the way in Germany. I'm not saying I don't want to come to Germany, and I'm not saying I have the funds for it, but that just seems a little, brash. And she was like, I'm not in Germany anymore. I'm at Scott Air Force Base. I'm living in Belleville. I'm right next to St. Louis. 9-hour drive. Okay. So, a week after I went on terminal leave, I drove to see her. The whole 9 hours. I woke up before the sun rose, and I arrived there as the sun set. And she lived in a very old house. It was like built in the 30s, I believe. And she cut her hair, so her hair was short now. And still mostly jet black, but now there's like some white hairs in there. And I knocked on the door. I was scared shitless. I knocked on the door. She welcomed me in. I was greeted with a hug. And we spent 30 minutes talking about... This was one of the most mature moments of my life. We spent 30 minutes talking about what we could have done different. Breaking up with me at the time was not the best. There was apologies. At the end of it, we hugged. And she got us pizza. Now, I will admit, it was great having her back. It was great having friendship. Picking up where we left off, but we were friends, and that was great. That was fine, under the circumstances. We went to church the next day, and I was very engaged in the Bible study that was being taught. And I could see the look on her face, one of just, oh, wow, he knows his stuff. Wow, he is spitting gospel. Wow, he is being engaged. And what he says makes sense. She would tell me that she did date a guy in Germany for 4 days. And keep that in mind. And he also is at Scott Air Force Base, and I got to meet him. We actually became good friends, but there was a moment him and I had alone time. He's like, yeah, man, her and I had a special night, and I'm looking over at him like, dude, I didn't need to know that. But I was only there with her for 2 days. I slept on her couch, which she had a terrible couch, and I had a terrible back, and there was like no blinds in the living room, so I was up all night. She got a dog. It's like a Chihuahua mix. She's half Chihuahua. That dog drives me nuts. Oh my god, I cannot deal with dogs that yelp. I got sensitive hearing, and just any high-pitched noise just gives me a headache. And that dog did exactly that. And that dog hates everyone. That dog hates everyone. So anyway, I left on I got there on a Saturday morning. I got to Belleville Saturday evening, and I left Monday morning. And again, I'm on terminal. I have nowhere better to be. And I get back to Oklahoma, and the next day I drive from Oklahoma. I drove from Oklahoma to some town on the Wyoming-Utah border. It took me 15 hours to get there, and 15 and a half hours to get there. So that's my record for driving. I was, I downed a lot of Red Bull and Monsters that trip. Ironically, keep this in mind, I drove through Colorado Springs and Denver. a little bit of foreshadowing, ironic. Um, and then the next day she calls me and we talk for an hour. And it was one of those, I'm glad we're friends. I'm glad that you're back in my life, but I'm not, I wasn't expecting you to be calling me on this trip. I wasn't expecting you to hear from you so soon. I was in Washington for about 5 days, and she's sending me memes now. Okay. I fly back to Oklahoma, and I'm now 2 days away from leaving Oklahoma. And again, she's calling me almost every day. I proposed that because I'm on terminal and I have a nice cushion of money, I have nowhere better to be. I can come back to Belleville to see her for a little bit. And she was like, I would love that. Absolutely. So, I go back to the fire department. My fire department. I say goodbye to everyone. I drop off some tables at my friend's house, and I'm driving. I'm probably on the road for 30 minutes. I'm not even in Lawton yet. And I get a phone call that she potentially might have COVID. It is now March of 2021, if I haven't set a date yet. And I saw her about a little over a week ago. I saw her the last weekend of February 2021. So, I was like, you know what? I already planned on coming. I don't think COVID is that big of a deal. I think last year was a big of a deal, but now that we know a little bit more about COVID, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I just think it's a cold. I will come. I will still come to see you. So, she was in quarantine for 2 weeks. She never got COVID. And basically during these 2 weeks, she was happy to have company. She was happy to be around me. I was happy to be around her. And it was just basically the two of us just chilling in her house. And she had a really cute house. She's a very classy woman, so a lot of her furniture and a lot of the artwork around her house is very classy. And I thank God for this. Because when I got back from when I left Afghanistan, when I left my deployment, I thought I was going to come back to Washington to an apartment and a loving girlfriend that I was going to propose. I was going to propose to Angel. And I was like, this is my war trophy. This is me, a war veteran coming back from, war and settling down. I had my Vietnam, I had my D-Day. Now, obviously, it wasn't that intense. I think wars have kind of gone down in intensity compared to previous wars. But from that moment, it was, I've been through hell. I've seen people die, and I did see people die. I've been shot at. I've been bombed. I get to come home to a woman that I love. And unfortunately, Angel left. And it was very sad. And God gave me that. God gave me that, hey, it wasn't Angel that you went home to. You came home back to Christy. You survived the war. Angel's gone, but you are now home, in a beautiful home, in a beautiful area. She kind of lived in the back streets of Belleville. Lots of shrubbery, old but not run-down homes. It was a fairly safe part of Belleville, and I say that because, come to find out, St. Louis and East St. Louis, I guess, are some of the highest crime in the United States, and that would be later proved later, but I digress, is God did give me a home and a woman that I valued to come home to. And it was about 3 weeks of just, welcome home, the war is over, your enlistment's over. And during this time, I upgraded from the couch to her bed. And it was kind of unintentional because I was upgraded from the couch to an air mattress in her room. And again, another act of God, I cannot explain it. That thing could not hold air to save its life. I woke up with back pain, and before we went to bed, she was like, well, if the air mattress don't work, there's always my bed. And here's where things got weird. Okay, the air mattress didn't work, my back is killing me, I'm going to get in her bed. But by all means, I am trying, like, we are friends, and that is how I see her. I'm going to be on the tippy edge of her bed. Her bed is it was smaller than a queen, but you could definitely fit two people on it. I'm on the tippy edge of her bed. I wake up, and she is, like, right on my back. Which I liked. But you, the audience member, I want you to keep track of all the signs that is being given to me. Wanting to see me, calling me all the time, the memes. I am now upgraded to her bed. She is now pretty much cuddling with me at this point. And during these 3 weeks I stayed with her, she proposed a potential relationship. Well, things got only more romantic as I stayed there. And we were basically doing relationship stuff without actually being in a relationship. At that point, I was like, if we're doing these things, in my heart, if we're doing these things, we are in a relationship, whether she says so or not. We celebrated my birthday there, and she got me a journal. I journal. And I really value when people give me journals. Oh my gosh. And especially like if I get it from someone and they sign it, like where they got it, who's it from, and the date. Oh man, that really makes me happy. Angel actually bought me a lot of journals that I've filled out, and they got her name on there, they got her date on there. Now there's going to be people like, well, dude, you shouldn't keep stuff from your exes. And it's like, well, true, but I've already put my memoirs in there. You know, to throw away the journal is to also throw away my memoirs. And Christy has also gotten me journals before, which I've valued. I think both of them, Angel got me like 5 and Christy got me like 3. And again, I'm using everyone's fake names. But anyway, there came a time where I had to leave Belleville. I had to leave her house, and I had to go back to Washington. And I'm going to end it here and be ready for part 2.